Hi, hi everyone. Welcome to Babbling Zoom, where the narrative matters. Which I'm thinking about a new thing to add to that. But let me introduce you to my new toy. Ow, that hit me in the head. This is the Nerf um, Aliens M41a Pulse Rifle. I think I got that right. Um, this is one of the coolest things I have gotten, and I spent way more money than I wanted to. Well, no, I didn't spend much. I spent exactly the amount that was advised. That was a yeah. I spent exactly the amount that this was actually retailed for. So I paid the retail price. Don't worry about that. But this is awesome. This is the awesomest, like, I don't know, like limited run thing ever. And here's why. This is one of those things where as much as you want a toy version of this, no one, for some reason, made it. They made tiny little action figures or tiny little replicas and everything. That's cool. But in the concept of, in the world of just random replica toys, like actual like toys for people to play with, um, it was it's just one of those toys that just never was never made. And I think mostly because it was just kind of like because it was like more of a R-rated movie. So it was probably like a lot of kids like at the time toy companies would not make this because like only adults would buy it and they're catering towards kids. So um what I love about like first off, don't get me wrong, I am not a full-on geek when it comes to aliens. I know people that are. Uh I'm a movie person. I love movies. But to be honest, I'm not like full geek when it comes to everything. Uh um but this weapon for design purposes, like just everything about this was an awesome design and weapon. On top of the movie was awesome. When it comes to Alien and Aliens, I'm an Aliens person. I like the idea. I don't know. I think I like writing and creating stories about groups of people, the dynamics of groups of people together. I'm not much of a horror person. I'm more of an action person. So in the end, Alien didn't resonate with me as much as Aliens. I let go of the again horror with action in it. What also helped with this, the continuing love for this particular weapon, is the fact that um, when Halo finally came out, um, when Halo first came out, there was a lot of similarities between Halo and Aliens. If you start the game up right off the bat, you pretty much hear the speech that Johnson says, and you're like, "Yep, that's pretty much ripped from Aliens." Uh, the way the Marines acting throughout the game, the assault rifle in Halo just makes me think of this gun all the time. Um, Down to like the fact that it has a counter and everything, amazing. Um, but yeah, so sadly enough, ever since I've gotten this gun, for some reason, I can't stop thinking, I can't stop humming Halo all over the place. So that's the correlation, just so you know. That's it. There's no need to do a review on this. Everyone's been doing reviews on this thing for the last 3 months. If you want a good review on it, watch that. If you want amazing reprints on that, watch that. I'm eventually going to reprint this. I would love to reprint this. Ooh, I suck at reprinting. Or maybe I'm just scared right now because this is such a good thing. And for $100, yes, I said $100. I'm not ready to start messing with this thing yet. Uh, so why am I making this video? This is gonna be fun. Because of this gun. And I think because of this particular Wayland's Utonic logo on the bottom and the specific design that I created, the specific color choices they created, I'm thinking about something. So the original design, the original look of this gun, let me switch over to screen share. Not that. Okay. The original design of this gun, or color scheme of this gun, is the classic black with the debatable thing is it tan or olive? So I feel like it's probably a dark tan, but when you add the filters on it, it came out looking olive. So you'll usually see people painting it both. And I don't believe to be honest, it's either you go movie prop accurate, which is the tan, or film accurate, which is more like the matching the tone of the armor, which is olive green. But the first time you see it is Aliens, obviously. But at the very end of Aliens 3, you actually see the Wayland Utonics version of it. So even though this is the military, or even though this is the Marines weapon, you get to see a corporation using the gun as well. So in this weird moment of ever since I've had this gun, I thought to myself, I know I'm going to repaint this later, but is there a way of making a general storyline based just on this scheme alone, this paint job? And then that wouldn't get out of my head. That seriously wouldn't get out of my head. So I'm going to quickly make up a story. It's been mulling around here. It's just going to be finally written down in Tron. So I'm going to quickly write a story just based on this gun alone, an entire story because of this thing. So the first thing you want to talk about, what we're going to talk about, let me bring it back up. The first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that it looks like a construction color, right? This actually looks more construction based than anything else, right? I could see these as a caution signs. This is the great color of the hard hat. So automatically, just the stripe, the black striping, the yellow with the black striping, just all of that screams. It screams construction, which then makes you think back on Alien, which they were a mining crew, right? So back to screen share. So let's quickly hash out something real quick. Oh, actually. So being Wayland Utonics is a corporation. We're going to do quickly bring up two things. So we're going to actually focus on the concept of company towns, right? That's kind of the general idea of what happened in the premise of aliens, right? They say it's a colony that terraformed the place. Cool. So what if we focus now on a company town? So a good understanding of company towns, knowing better does a great job, but there's a whole bunch of other people that talk about company towns, the coal towns and stuff. And in short, what it is it's a town created by a company for its workers to work in the nearby area, the nearby mines, coals, plant, whatever. It's a specific town built around the industry that is dealing with the resource, the taking from resources. Good example is it's the rubber tree plant in South America that Ford created to create tires for their Model Ts. Um, they built an entire town around it, and the big thing about company towns that really is bad is the fact that they don't pay their workers regular cash. They pay their workers in um, rations and tokens and credits. You're giving them a currency that they could only spend inside the town. So we're going to use this as a basis for Wayland and this story. The other thing we're going to do, let me get my glove on, quickly do this. So we're going to try and set up. So we're not going to need this guy right now. Get this out of the way real quick. So the whole concept is the company town, right? Imagine that Wayland Newtonics has a company town on a certain planet. They're mining they're mining the resources of the planet, and we're dealing with a series of people. You need the head of security. I'm spelling security wrong. I'm going to spell it wrong horribly, so I'm just going to put head S, head security. My bad spelling. Head of security. So basically, person with badge. Gone. Right. So head of security would be our main character. This is our protagonist. Um, I kind of want to put a doctor in there who's an android, right? Because as we know, all these things have androids in it, and he doesn't need to wear that outfit, that particular outfit. But we're just getting our archetypes together, right? We need a foreman. Actually, you know what? The big belly one. Big belly foreman. Sloppy drawing. Yes, I know. Um, you also need, I think a supervisor is the idea that I'm thinking. All right. This is essentially majority of what we're going to need for this plot. The other thing we're going to do with this is we're not just going to focus on a company town. The company town is kind of a thing that came about in the industrial age. But what we can also do is consider that this is now out in the middle of nowhere. So we're also going to make the fact that this is kind of like a Western, right? Where now the head of security is technically the sheriff. He handles all that will go down in his town. These are all the workers of the corporate town. But outside of that, outside of the town, are pockets of settlers, right? Just random pockets of settlers have also laid claim to the local area. This is all set up, yes. Now, before we jump into this, we have to establish the entire world. What is this world? You have the head of security who has to maintain this nonsense, right? That's going on. Wayland Corporation. Is it E? Yep. Wayland. Yep, that's right. Wayland U. So Wayland Corporation owns this town, but they own only a certain stake of this location. Everyone else knows of it and set up their little claims, right? But because Wayland Corporation has the entire infrastructure to maintain constant work and transport in and out of the town, in and out of the planet, Wayland Corporation kind of controls the means and transportation and the ports of this town. Everyone, all the settlers have to interact with the town to go in and out. Imagine kind of like if it was a Western, imagine a town with a railroad next to it. Everyone outside of that town can do whatever they want with their land. But when it comes to interacting with the outside world, everyone comes back into town to do some deals. Cool? Now we're good. Settling up the personalities now. Personalities of these characters will take more of a Western route than anything else. The head of security is the sheriff. He's our sheriff of the location. We're going to be focusing mostly on him and his view of everything around him. And everyone falls into that line. The head of security, sheriff. The doctor or slash android is the curious intellect, right? So he's the intellect of the group, over analyzing everything. The foreman. I'm drawing something wrong. The foreman is the banker. He handles what goes in and out of this town. He's the foreman. He's the corporate guy of the town. And the supervisor represents the workers. The pre-established norm before we start the story will be that everyone inside town that works under Wayland is given basically rationed credits, just credits for all the stuff that's going on. Meanwhile, all the settlers are allowed to trade with cash and slowly coming in. The sheriff is a disillusioned man. He's been there. He doesn't care. He's just going through the places. He's fed up by everyone. He gets some solace in the settlers outside. Nothing more, right? The doctor himself, their big thing is they're there for the people. He's the only person, whatever. I'm going to say he from here on in because we don't know which race, what sex we're going to go with any of this, right? The doctor, his big thing is he's there to help the workers. The workers are strictly there for mining and operation. The doctor is the only one who can save people's lives. He's the only one trained in this. And maybe some nurses, who knows? Yeah, probably some nurses. But he also has a fascination with the bug life on this planet. There was a key line that wasn't Hicks. What's his name? I'm going to look this up because it's going to bug me. The movie, yes. Yes. There's a line that Private Hudson does. Bill Paxton. I was thinking Hudson. It is Hudson. That's great. So there's a line that Hudson says as they're gearing up for this mission, and he says something along the lines of, "Is this going to be another bug hunt, or are we actually doing something?" Right? And then they tell him to shut up, which intrigues me because it means that there are bugs out there. There are other things out there. So imagine if we played on that even more. So what if the doc is dissecting bugs? The doc is really fascinated with the biology. Biology is not the word I'm thinking. But he's really fascinated with the life on this planet. And he'll pay a little extra if people from the settlement drops off a few that they've seen or shot. The foreman, his whole goal is to just make sure that the money's flowing. Right? He's basically by the books, trying to get the thing going, trying to get the stuff moving. He doesn't really approve of majority of the stuff that the doctor does, but he doesn't complain either because he's a Wayland robot and he knows there's stuff going on. And there's maybe yeah, we'll get to that later. The supervisor is the guy on the ground. He's the one in the mines helping out with his crew. And it's this little conflict we're going to play on before we get to any other conflict, right? So with that laid out, let's get back to this guy real quick. Let's go back to this. So what is a normal day on this corporate town, right? A normal day, I'm probably going to do this symbols again. Because it's a frontier town, the sheriff has a habit of complaining about the corporation. But what he likes to do is kind of randomly buy things. So he'd randomly run out outside of town and kind of meet up with settlers, especially this one day where he kind of runs over to like maybe an old prospector. He runs over to an old prospector who's like, hey, he's like, what, you called me over here for something? He's like, yeah. I bagged myself a bug. How much will the doc pay for it? It's like, depends on how big it is. Pretty big. Little things like that. Sheriff looks at the bug, sees it, says, cool. I like that. When the sheriff is slowly supplying the doctor with bugs. I should have chose a different color design for the sheriff or for the doctor. But the doctor, upon bringing the bug back to the doctor explains what we've all been questioning in the entire Aliens movie universe, not the books, the movies. I haven't read any of them. Sorry. But the real question is, why is Wayland so obsessed with these bugs? And in this little moment, as the doctor's dissecting stuff and checking things out, he maybe explains that maybe they're just looking for new organisms to mess around with to try and advance what the corporation is looking for. They're into building a better future. Why not look at other organisms and stuff? Boom. Simple. Why are they obsessed with trying to capture an alien? Because they've been studying every type of alien for this whole time. The foreman doesn't like this thing, but he accepts it because he knows this is part of Wayland's bottom line. So they kind of have Spock and McCoy type of fight, essentially. I would say Spock and McCoy, but imagine if it was more like McCoy and no, maybe it's like Spock and McCoy. The doc's rational. The doc is rational. The foreman is reasonable. Sorry, the doc is logical. The foreman is relatable or grounded. Not grounded. You know what I'm trying to say. That's the whole thing. Meanwhile, we get to see two sides of this. We get to see what's going on in the offices, and we get to see the worker through the supervisor's eyes. On and on again, we keep going in and out of what's going on in the mines, what's going on in the cafeteria, what's going on with the sheriff and his crew. So you're seeing two different stories. The story of the people who sit on their butts and focuses on that, or you're going to see upper management and lower, and upper management versus the employee. From the employee's point of view, especially the supervisor, what you're seeing is a guy who is just kind of trying his hardest to help his guys out, but day in and day out, you notice things are being skewed. Their settlers are getting more out of living in this planet than the workers. And this is where you start seeing the little things in the background. The price of food is going to slowly go up throughout the beginning of the first act. We're going to constantly come back to a cafeteria scene where you're all in line, you're buying your stuff. Even the sheriff's going to be there. Everyone in the corporate town goes to this cafeteria, buys food. They grab whatever they need, buffet style, and they pay off. They pay whatever in their credits. And slowly, this is going to be a reoccurring thing for the first like 15 minutes. Right? Maybe like 3 times you're going to see it. This is where all these people are going to just randomly talking, nothing special. Show the mines, food, break, sleep, whatever. The general day of what everyone's going through until finally the price goes up too much and it kind of just breaks the soul of the foreman, or not the foreman, but of just the workers. They're just done. The miners are just done with this stuff. They start having an argument. It breaks off into and it just breaks off into a strike, right? Now, before this strike, I can't spell strike. Oh, strike? How come I can't spell strike? This is going to piss me off. I mean, I suck at spelling, obviously. Yeah, I can't spell. There we go. So before we get to this strike, we'll add one little element that comes in. Remember, I brought up the fact that settlers like to come in or settlers like to call the sheriff or come in and sell some stuff for a little bit. So one settler comes in and what he brings in is an open alien pod, a face hugger pod. Open. He sells it to the doc. The doc's checking it out. This is fascinating. In the midst of all this, the strike happens. This is now inside the compound. Just that. Just that. That's all that's in there. Right? Foreshadowing. Yeah. So this is now inside the fortified corporate town. I forgot to mention that part. The strike happens. Just the constant favoritism towards the settlers instead of actually paying attention to their workers explodes. The supervisor leads a strike. Everyone's freaking out. The sheriff has to come in with his deputies to try and calm everything down, which is the first time you see the pulse rifle. Am I trying my hardest to draw this thing? Yes. Now, here's the difference between this pulse rifle and the Marine version. Yeah, there's the difference between this version, the Marine version, and the Special Corporate Security. think of the pulse rifle as think of the standard Marine pulse rifle as their service weapon. And then think of what we have now for civilian use. It is it's underpowered, though still deadly. Uh, it is underpowered, weaker caliber. So, in other words, what the military and public and corporate high security has is way more powerful than what these guys have on this situation. That grenade launcher is probably just smoke bombs. And the caliber of this gun is weaker than what the Marines are running. The reason why it looks all bright and yellow is more security reasons to prevent it's more security. It's a show of force, not force itself. Hence the bright yellow and the white. It's meant to deter, not to engage. So the sheriff comes out with his deputies, has the guns to try and calm everyone down and stop them from breaking into things. And the strike basically leads with them going out of town. The workers go. So what if like it was corporate town, settle, corporate barracks and stuff, and then further down through the mountains are the settlements, something like that. So the strike moves out. They're done. They're done with this nonsense, and they'll walk. The sheriff's position is not sheriff. I keep saying the security sets his crew up to make sure that nothing bad happens. The doc's on standby. Foreman's freaking out. Oh my god, production's low. I don't know what's going on. Blah 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 blah. And as this builds and builds and builds, all of a sudden, a series of settlers start run toward the town. Something's wrong. People are dying. We need help. And the problem now is something out there is killing settlers. They are at the height of this craziness right now, and they can't handle this. And then this happens. Like one or two settlers come in, and they're like, "What's going on?" Something's killing settlers. What do you mean? Well, that old guy. So geared up. So now we get to Act 2. I'm going to try to be quick about this because I have to do things. Act 2. We take a quick road trip. Whatever type of truck you want to build this, try to make it as Ridley Scott as possible. Vehicle. We take the sheriff, a few guys, the doc, and the foreman can stay back. They drive through the strike zone. Maybe at one point they stop for the supervisor. Tell him what's going on. We need to hold off for a second. Please don't do anything. We got to go check on the old dude. And somewhere in there, maybe the foreman's like, I get it. Let me come with you for a second. And these guys come along. So maybe a good handful of guys. Nothing spacing, nothing crazy. Little animosity going on because the foreman, because the supervisor is just pissed off, but they all have this concerned. They always have this concern over the old guy, you know, this old guy. They go to his cabin, or they go to his home, maybe up in the mountains, or maybe deep further out, you know. So they go there, check and see how he's doing, find out he's dead. This place is ransacked, covered. It seems like got a few shot offs, and there's some weird oozing going on. There's some weird acidy thing on the floor. It starts off, maybe they're like, oh no, there's some bugs, blah blah blah. And in the midst of it, a swarm, yeah, a swarm of bug-like creatures, whatever type of alien bugs you want to put in there, starts attacking the group. I'm drawing ants for some reason, but whatever they want to design. They start attacking the group, and they start unloading on it with guns. So you get to see the guns shooting. And like a swarm, like a bunch, like crazy amount. And it looks like they're attacking him. And they're trying their hardest to attack him back until they realize that this swarm is actually not attacking them, they're running. And you only notice that something bad's about to happen, what bad's happening when maybe they see a slew of massive bugs, twisted, maybe a random face hugger here and there. So they see maybe they find a massive nest of bugs, more debris, more destruction. And the team looks at it and says, what happened here? So in other words, they try to figure out the problem of the old guy, but find out that there's something even deadlier hunting the bugs. Maybe they get a call on the radio. Something's going on. Where's the supervisor? We need help. So they're like, all right, jump back in the vehicle. Try to race back as fast as possible. Radio. They try to get back. And on the way back, they see multiple settlers in different vehicles trying to get back to town. Everyone's freaked. Everyone just wants to get back to to corporate town because they know something's out there, something slowly killing everyone. The more they try to figure out what's going on, the more they're like, I can't see it. It's something going on. I don't know. Who knows? They're stopped by the protesters because now they're just pissed. We're catering towards the settlers. What about us? What about the workers? When are you going to help us out? And they're still trying to figure out this whole mess. What's going to happen? Back and forth arguing. So if you're paying attention, we went from the town to the mountain to the settlement. The settlement, we're hitting about the town. The was it the workers town, the workers settlement, stuff. They started going through this whole fight, and while they're trying to figure this thing out, the foreman kind of does side with his men. What's going on? The sheriff has to figure out, has to calm everyone down and try to deal with everything. Meanwhile, back at the location, right, back at the office, the money man kind of gets a message about this weird life form, and maybe we can try and capture it. And he's now pondering what he should do. So this is a side thing that's happening. In the midst of all this, everyone gets attacked by aliens. Like a bunch of aliens. Different shapes, different sizes. Mass panic ensues. Everyone freaks out and they start running. This back and forth between factions are done. There's a swarm of aliens coming. They start shooting. Everyone runs to the safety of the everyone runs towards the safety of the corporate building. From here on in, it's just a scramble to try and get everyone inside and hopefully put the guns on the swarming horde of aliens that's trying to kill everyone. Let's draw like a rover trying to haul ass out of there. They're like, oh no. People are going left and right. The swarms of aliens are killing everyone. And I'm drawing more than I'm talking, but you get the picture. This is gonna feel like the alien that the hallway scene with aliens. Um, and all they can do is sit, bunker down, and watch as multiple people are being slaughtered. Their workers are Most of the workers are done. People are trying the hardest to hide. They're emptying clip after clip, not clip, magazine after magazine into these things, and you're trying the hardest to survive. Earlier, I want one of the deputies to waste ammo on um on one of these random like offshoot bugs, and the security basically screaming at them, head of security or sheriff, and this. head of security screaming at them like, "What are you doing? Stop wasting our bullets!" Right? Um, yeah. So Act 3 basically is run back to the safety of the corporate building. As aliens start attacking, they start swarming. Just classic aliens. Everyone's pushing back, 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 and they just have to sit and watch as multiple people being scored and died. They know they have to give up the town. The corporate guy now has the say, or the foreman has the say. And we're not going to do this classic trope here. Um, he goes, I radio back. I heard what you guys were talking about because maybe he's talking back and forth with them. I sent him some pictures and I realized they were asking to try and capture one of it. And they're like, "Are you crazy? This is nuts." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. This is dumb. We shouldn't do this. I don't know what to do." And they're like, "What? I don't know what to do. Help me decide." And this is where the supervisor looks at the foreman and is like, "I'll help you." And he walks up and punches him. Cocks him. Come on out. Done. And everyone kind of looks at the supervisor like, "What was that about?" It's like, well, if we can, if we take him down, if we knock him out, he can write in a report. I had no say. I was held, and everyone kind of just looks at each other and kind of agrees that works. The foreman's thinking, well, what do we do now? We have to wait for a shuttle. We have to hold out. We got to get as many people on the shuttle as possible. And now it's a waiting game. Act 3 is simply the waiting game. They're waiting for the next shuttle to come in. As more aliens slowly break through their defenses, they're fighting their way through. They're trying their hardest. Maybe something's broken and they need someone to go out and manually operate the doors for the drop ship to pick them up. Something, but it's a slow burn to just watch as a handful of people slowly fight their way through, uh, slowly defend themselves throughout Act 3 until someone lives. Right? Maybe, maybe in the end, the foreman is the one who survives. The sheriff goes out the way he wants to, and maybe he goes out with his friend, the doc, and the foreman's the one to live through it. Who knows? But what you try to do is you take for the first act of this idea, you take cues from what actually happened in history. There was yeah, you take the cues from what actually happened in history. I think it was knowing better. Knowing better had a great conversation about this, about how at the time corporations were corrupt. They're really corrupt, and like they'd have security come in and beat up people and force them to not unionize and physically hurt people and terrorize them into doing their job. And you take all those aspects. Imagine that all these aspects of the security of that time is reflected in this show, and this idea where as much as and make it a situation where as much as no one likes it, they're doing it because it's money. It's all about the money. It's all about like keeping your family together, keeping the whole thing stable. Because like without money, they can't do anything. And now they're pushed to this point where like you forget with the money to save your lives. Yeah, no one's stupid. Well, maybe you throw some stupid people in there, right? But I don't want to forego. I don't want to go back on the classic trope of a Wayland Eugenics uh, company man always turning your back on humanity. That's a tired trope, and you move on. So in this version, what if the guy actually did the right thing? Simple as that. But yeah, that's that crazy idea I have for my gun. So why does it look like this? What if this was simply standard issue civilian version of a rifle for security, for simple corporate security? This uses smoke grenades. These are less. These are less lethal. You know how in the movie it was like explosive tips? This is not explosive tip. This is a weaker version for the security team at a mining facility will use. And that is the idea. Or that's my made up idea for why the gun looks this way. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other, if you have your own idea of how and why that gun looks like that, feel free to add it in the comments. I would love to see what you come up with. Yes, I would love to paint the gun, but yeah, I kind of enjoyed making my own story based on what was given to us. And I'd like to see what you guys do too. So thank you. See you next time.